Thank you all for joining us tonight. So, in reading up a little bit on the film, I saw, Ted, that you were kind of Roger's first meeting about this. And so I wonder, was this project an instant yes for all of you? Why or why not? Like, what was the thought process in hearing this story and coming on to work on it?
I think someone would have to be a total fool to pass on this project. That Roger had already made the documentary. It was such a phenomenal character. Um, you could see it as a movie right from the beginning. It was just like, is the world ready for this film? And so many pieces have to come together. He said in that meeting he had one actor in mind, and I'm not going to reveal anything, but that actor is on the stage today. But yeah, it was then just a question. We were really lucky too. Out in the wings is one of the Amazon executives, Brianna O, who also was a real believer in the project from the very beginning. And it was a trick to figure out how to get it made because, again, frankly, credit where credit is due. If Gael didn't have the courage, the commitment, the tenacity, the perseverance, the kind of I can get it done sort of thing, because I come out of indie film where we know how to make it cheap, and I wanted to make it for $30 million. That's what I thought the film needed to be made at. And eventually we got down to 15. Amazon was in for half. We couldn't find a partner. And Gael came to me at a meeting and said, Ted, stop fucking around. Make this movie, bring it to Mexico. We can do it for half that amount of money.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it for half that amount of money, and he knew that, but we got to the point where we could get there. And Gael came on as a producer, then to do it, really, put his name and everything on the line. And we came down to Mexico to make the movie.
Yeah. Gael, were you always bringing that energy, or was this kind of like a longer process, even thinking about playing Saul?
Oh yeah, for me, I mean, it's. I guess it started like every film has its own journey and its own story, but this began when Roger, in a very candid conversation in a hotel, he said, "Man, like I want to do a film about Cassandro." And at that point, it was a very far away sort of wishful thinking, and little by little, all the pieces started to come together, and in those moments, also there's the ups and downs. There's the kind of like, okay, it's happening, no, it's not happening, da-da-da-da. And then a lot of people started to come together as well to be part of the film. And some of them are here, and all of a sudden, the film started to amalgam into a reality, but really, I mean, it's I think in Sundance when the film came out that we realized, okay, we managed to make it, because there's always the risk of things falling apart, no. It's always I mean, it's an act of faith to make a film, no, but I got very excited from the beginning, as soon as Roger told me about it, like. Got excited about the story about Cassandro, because I grew up watching Lucha Libre, a big fan of Lucha Libre, as a kid, and Cassandro was, he was a character that came afterwards, no, from my he wasn't in my generation. He was like a little bit afterwards, and I remembered him, but the Exóticos, the whole world, there was something there that was. So it got to me, and I started to think about it, and I couldn't stop thinking about this possibility. And then when it started to happen, it was great, because finally I was gonna jump off the third rope, and play as a kid, what I always wanted to do,
Yeah. Mariestela, when you hear Lucha Libre project, are you like, yes, I'm in, or are you like, ooh, that's a challenge?
Both.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm in, and it was a challenge. Very interesting and so thrilled to learn the way these outfits are done from scratch in a very non-orthodox way. By the all the outfits that you see on the film were done, and especially for the film. And besides, my seamstress doing Cassandro's outfits, the rest were done by the actual makers of these type of. They don't call them costumes; they call them equipments. And it's real strange because these guys and they're mainly men, do not answer to patterns or to respond to any drawings. You have to tell them what you want. So you talk about the costumes and then you trust them. So it was a handful, but it was wonderful.
Yeah.
I keep Sorry, I keep thinking we left all this money on the table. You all would have bought those costumes, that equipment, if we had sold them during Halloween. You all wanted to be Cassandro too. I know I did.
Absolutely. Marcelo, I think the cool thing with the film too is that it really serves the story and the nuances of it. It's not just whatever we have in our head of a Lucha Libre movie. And so what were you thinking about initially when you were thinking of coming on?
Well, what I really loved about, of course, Gael and the performance and my admiration for his work previous, but particularly in this film, it was so incredible to see that and be a part of it. And I really love Roger, our director, comes from documentaries, and this is his first narrative film. And I love the grit of it, and also how inspiring it is. It would have been a different director, a different movie might have been all sort of dark and all grit, or all inspiring and kind of syrupy. And he was able to find this balance between the light and the darkness of the character, and ultimately it's an extremely emotional, very inspiring story, and it was a canvas that I had never had a chance to work on. This world it's like a magical world. It's so different, but it's so dramatic, and I just talked to Roger a lot about the fights, and there's kind of almost like this movie within the movie. Each fight is a little story that keeps unfolding, and how we got the score to my first instincts were to just go like 100% right away, and Roger was very, very good at like pulling back and say, hold on, it's not Cassandra yet. Let's take our time, and we were very in sync about what the music needed to be. We talked a lot about the trumpet and how that was the instrument that could really portray both sort of the subtle and introspective part of Cassandra's life, of Saul's life, and the love story. But then as he becomes Cassandro, the trumpet can also really open up and become this very heroic instrument and give the sound. So, but it was just a very fortunate meeting of minds, and also I had the luck of Ted Hope here basically gave me a career many, many years ago when we worked on Door on the Floor. And our editor, Afonso Gonçalves, is also a very old collaborator, and Todd Black.
He worked on that movie too.
Yeah,
so
too.
These two had.
Yeah, we have our little Brazilian mafia kind of thing going on the side. And Todd Black, also one of the producers I had worked with many times. So it was like a lot of people from different parts of walks of life, but mostly I just loved the story, and I just was completely enamored with the performance and with this and what Gael did with this character.
Yeah, absolutely. I think speaking to that, Gael, I wonder if there's a little art imitating life. Did it feel at all when you were more so becoming Cassandro? Did you feel that confidence and sort of like a new kind of power in embodying the showier aspects of Saul's transformation?
Yeah, something that I've been thinking a lot about the character is that, Cassandro, Saul invents Cassandro or plays a character in order to find himself, in order to play with that kind of that mythology that he's trying to deconstruct, the father. No, in a way, Cassandro is that pathway towards that. And that's something I do as an actor a lot. I also sublimate many personal things, of course, when I'm interpreting a character, and there's always an opportunity with all the characters to actually come up with something that has to do with myself, or my life, and my curiosities as well, it is the joy of acting that thankfully I've been able to kind of being able to live that joy, and nurture from it. So yes, there was something very special. I think the most ratatouille moment happened when I was in front of El Hijo del Santo, having to wrestle against El Hijo del Santo. I was like, okay, man, I used to play, playing his father, and as a kid, and now I'm wrestling with the son of El Santo, the inheritor of the mask, the son of the legend, and I have to, and he's also he was very kind and very, very warm, as well as all the other luchadores and the organization, the AAA, who's a fantastic organization, and he was very. Sorry, I'm trying to speak from Spanish to English, translating immediately, but he was very good at kind of me echaba mucho piropo. He was saying like, man, you're really good, like you got it, and I was like, oh my God, don't tell me this, like yeah, very, very excited, and that moment was incredible when we shot that scene of the fight, the lucha against El Santo. It was incredible because it was a script that we all knew. Like we all started to shout Santo, 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 and man, it just starts to get incredible. The whole thing, it was amazing. It was really, really beautiful to be able to play that as an adult, as a 40-year-old guy. Like it was really, really wonderful.
Yeah, and can I just touch on that, because I think so much of what Gael just said there talks about the whole filmmaking process, that when we were developing the script, that question of who wears a mask, when he's wearing a mask, what mask is it, was like a big theme that was running through it. And of course the Exoticos are the one character that doesn't wear a mask, but not physically.
Yeah,
right?
well, could wear a mask. Yeah. There's no
Like
rules.
that
There's
was
no
one of the
rules.
things we were getting wrong then in the development process. but also like so much of it, like when you're starting to build a team and trying to move something through a corporate enterprise, on one hand, you feel like, well, we have to put on the airs that we're going to get this made in order to get it made, but are we ever going to really get it made? We're doubting ourselves at the same time. And it is also then, we were very aware that within the changing times of streaming, of when the movie first started happening, there was this huge opportunity to start to tell stories from a different perspective with different characters than what most of the kind of Hollywood American studio complex was. And we had this great opportunity, but would we ever really get to do it? And if we got to do it, were we capable of doing it right? And who are the right partners, and how do you do that? And one of the things when we were down there making it, Gael not only had the weight of the role, not only the weight of being a producer on the movie, but everyone that was on that set was there because of him, because we were shooting it in Mexico. I didn't know these people, I didn't know, they weren't there because of me, and they weren't there because of Roger. So Gael had this extra weight, like the character Cassandro, who has this growing community and weight and people he has to also start to realize he's performing for and changing their lives. And then once you're reaching at the end, we believed we had a beautiful movie, but you really don't know you have a beautiful movie. You're trying to find the ways to get to it. You need every little piece, and you're kind of willing it, and you're kind of bullshitting. right? And you're praying that it's all going to come together. But precisely that moment that Gael mentioned at the beginning, like when you get to Sundance and you see the people love the movie, and you see how it affected Saul, who was there, and that it was all worth it, it feels so much like that same sort of thing of, yeah, we all were finally getting to, wrestle with the hero or the son of the hero that we wanted. We finally got to get this movie out. It just felt like it was a metaphor to me, so I had to.
No, totally. I think it hits on something that I was wondering about, is that a great thing we've sort of finally been realizing is that you can find universality and specificity. And so I wonder, sort of going down the line, as this project evolved, was there anything that you find wanting to highlight in it becoming more Mexican or more Latino, Marcelo?
Roger's directions was he wanted more the idea of Mexico than being like explicitly Mexican. It was a more like, we talked a lot about Ennio Morricone scores for spaghetti westerns, for instance, which were, not really American, or there were Italians doing stories that were, where took place in Mexico, but it was just the idea of it. And so it was a more impressionistic idea, and we talked a lot about jazz, and because of the trumpet and noir score. So he wanted to kind of have the flavor of it, but he wanted to be very sophisticated. He wanted to be gritty. We used a lot of distorted kind of organs and things that didn't feel out of place, but he never wanted it to be, oh no, we want it to be as, it has to sound very much of a particular time and or a particular place. It was more evoking it. So there was a lot of freedom in that, which I loved. And it was very much an idea of a hybrid. It's also a border story, so I feel like you are dealing with both sides of this. And for me, as I'm Brazilian, but I'm Latin, and we consider ourselves Latinos, and it's just so wonderful to be able to tell, like Ted was saying, the stories from other points of view now, and it's so universal. And like by the time you get to the end, and when the kid is talking to Cassandro, and it just feels like a kid could be in Japan and have the same experience. And I think Roger really wanted to deal with the universal aspect of the story and how can this transcend. And I've seen now people, Americans, Europeans, and people from everywhere have seen this movie, are very moved by it. And I think that was what we were going for with the music, and I imagine beyond the music too.
Well, for me, it was trying to make it, as more realistic as possible, because it is a border story, and for me, it was so important to portray the border with all of its American influence. And basically, you can tell in Gael, his performance and everything, his accent, his look. Cassandro was that way, He was very much, I think, influenced by fashion of the two worlds. So you feel Mexico, but basically in the mom, Mom is really, really a portrayal of what I understand women up in the north of Mexico are. And it's so important for her, to be carrying these wonderful animal prints, which serve as an inspiration for Cassandro, to come out finally. So it was just really trying to be very authentic. There isn't much information like for her. We had information about Cassandro in his stage persona and few pictures here and there of his everyday life. Once he starts being very famous and starts traveling, you can tell in his everyday clothes that there's also a lot of influence. He liked Prince as well as his mom. So I tried just to be as to do justice to his story. So not coming out, because we always said it's not a coming out story, but true to his shine and freedom all the time. And that's it. Yeah, very Mexican.
And then you're in new territory, Ted. And
Well, the whole process for me really reminded me a lot of my initial work with Ang Lee, on both his first feature and then the second one, Wedding Banquet, not just because of the gay themes there, but also he was working in a culture that he was still a little alien, felt a little alien to. Roger wasn't from Mexico. He needed to depend on a lot of his collaborators to get it. But that adage that you started, the specific is the universal, I think was very much key with those films, Wedding Banquet and Pushing Hands, being able to break through to the degree that they did. And what I had done with him, and then what Roger and I and David Teague, the co-writer on the script, had done a lot of in the early development, was try to make it specific and personal for David and Roger, where there was something in, like they often said, like the first half of the story is, I can't remember who's first had the half. One half was David, one half was Roger, and they really wanted to find those things, the relationship with the mother, the pieces of her clothing, things that summoned the personal for them on it, and to try to keep a emotional truth. So that level of authenticity was what I was trying to help police initially, because I didn't expect my time was going to go much further than the script. But as luck would have it, I got to spend a lot of time on set.
Yeah, and then Gael, I feel like there's so many levels, both acting and producing and really knowing this world first as a fan and now embodying this character, this real life person. And so what were kind of those small details that ended up kind of meaning the world to you and embodying Saul or Cassandra?
I mean, first, it's a film that we did with our family, with our filmic family, and that was great because that's what pulled through the film. That's what made it happen, and there was also a kind of everyone's kind of motivation was also in love with the story of Cassandro, but also with the curiosity of the border and what that represents, because the border is not Mexican or is not from the United States. Like, it's a culture of its own, and we wanted to be aware of what goes on there. And I've always been fascinated by it. I have no family members from the border, but it is a place that is full of strange and beautiful and culture that is an amalgam of different cultures, but it consists of coming and going, and also of constantly ignoring the horrendous wall that exists there, the stupid wall that exists there, and you have to ignore it because if not, it's impossible to live. People grow up with that wall in front of their houses, and it's something you have to kind of ignore, and that's something that I wanted to also play in this film, because it is about that also. Saul comes and goes. Saul goes and changes to another person. He crosses the border. He has to play for society. He has to play another character. When he has to behave well in the United States. He cannot be because if not, he goes to prison. He has to be like a kind of like it's a. We wanted to explore that and to really nurture a kind of a film about a border, about the border and about the dualities that we all live with and that we have to go through in life, in a way. But yeah, that to mention just a few things, because there were so many, so many things and examples that kind of made it really beautiful. I mean, now for example, I realize that I've been saying this in all these Q&As because it's something that just came up to me, like after watching the film, is that it's society that comes out of the closet. Like we were really not wanting to do a film about. We wanted to do what happens after, not like the coming out, But then looking at the movie, I was like, oh man, it's society that comes out of the closet. All of a sudden, society is like okay with let's support Cassandro. Yes, it's fine, of course, and that's a change that happened. And lucha libre is a sport highly skilled, very difficult, very complicated, very hard. You have to have a huge physical condition, you know, you have to be like in top shape because it's really, it's a mix of judo and Greco-Roman wrestling and acrobacies and theater and like everything, no? You have to give a spectacle, you have to give a show. It's a bit like salsa, you know, for those of you who might think like, oh, everything's arranged and everything. It is not. It is like you have to get to know the codes of what goes on, you know, in order for you to improvise as well. Because you're improvising all the time, you know, like when people dance salsa, no, that's what happens. And lucha libre is one of the few sports that has openly gay athletes competing. You know, there's not many, especially when there's money involved. There's not many gay athletes going there, no, like football or other sports, no. I mean, well, at least out of the closet, no? Yeah, come on. Statistically, it has to be, no? It was very great to fall into the world of lucha libre, you know, and play with that, but with all its complexities and its details, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's why stories like these are amazing to see on screen, because often we kind of forget that there's a lot of firsts that already happened. We keep thinking that like, oh, this is kind of a new breakthrough, and it's like, no, like, give people more credit. We were cool about this years earlier. But you were hitting on something that I was interested in. We talk a lot about Cassandro the showman, but he is also an athlete. So what was the work in doing that? And I wonder, sort of, were you all in your work at all sort of sports-minded or thinking about this as a sports film as well? So first I want to hear your work, and then...
I did, I mean, for the training, I'm gonna come up with a video for everyone to do it. It's very easy. It's at the beginning because it's eating a lot and doing a lot of exercise, like a lot, you know, but doing mainly not weights, but just, you know, calisthenics and kind of like, you know, getting strong, getting really, really strong. And then the difficult but fun part comes when I, like 2 months before starting to shoot, I started to train wrestling, no, with AAA, this organization that is incredible. It's one of the biggest organizations of lucha libre in the world, and they were really kind. They were very generous, and Chessman and Tejano Jr., my mentors, my trainers, they included me and Roberta Colindres, who plays Sabrina. They included us in the world of the up and coming wrestlers for their training, and that was fantastic because these guys are amazingly good at what they do, and we had to warm up and live, you know, like do the workout that they do, you know, and it is pretty hard. It's really, really complicated. It hurts a lot. You have to learn how to fall, for example. You have to learn how to fly. You have to learn how to many things, you know, walk the ropes, you know, And you have to also know that you're doing a spectacle, that you're giving a good show as well, you know. So that has to. It's fantastic. It's a great sport. It's very difficult to practice it.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I used to practice it. You know, when I was a kid, I mean, I used to, you know, with my friends, I used to kind of make, you know, the okay, now you go down, and we would sometimes, you know, when one was supposed to go down and the other one was supposed to jump, we would both jump at the same time, and like it would be like a huge, you know, yeah. But yeah, and that happens still as an adult. But yeah, it was great to do also a very joyful side of the sport as well, because I don't know why wrestling has been considered like a sort of a trashy sport, you know, a kind of a thing, and no, these guys are incredibly strong and very dedicated, and you have to be very healthy as well in order to be able to do it.
Yeah, and to see the effect that it has on the crowds too, where it's almost like a church, these people going to see the wrestlers, it's really something to see. We probably have like 2 seconds, but I guess if you guys had anything to add on the sports aspect of this, I'd love to hear it.
Well, I think what was wonderful is the way, the discipline, and how Gael threw himself to the character, which allowed me to, put sometimes over just the really enduring hard fittings and the physicality of the sport, and going through, really heavy coats that look like, like a cape, that are so light, and they're not. They're heavy. And he would take them off on stage, on the ring, and, looks like a feather. And he was just like there, and I had to sort of take in consideration that in some part, but it was mainly that he became very strong and disciplined. And
we had to do a little sacrifice. No, there. Sorry to interrupt. But we had to do a little sacrifice there because at the beginning, obviously, when Cassandro is like beginning to become Cassandro, he makes the costume out of his mother's
blouse.
Yeah, exactly, the blouse, and also the hot pants.
I know.
And I don't recommend wrestling with hot pants. No, it's the only thing I can tell that it's not like that. Yeah, we can tell that Cassandra was learning at that point because it was like,
she
okay.
had to endure a lot.
Yes,
You had to endure a lot.
it's
I'm
only
so
going to be
grateful.
this time. Never again hot pants for this. Afterwards is leotards, it's like that kind of like the body, no? Like
But they were, jean and
Jean
it was
hot
not
pants.
stretchy jeans at that time.
No,
it
it
was
was complicated.
less engineered denim, so it was tough on him.
It was tough.
But
It
you
was
were
very tough.
Very strong. It helped you. But
It helped, exactly. Yeah.
it's a very, very difficult sport. It requires a lot from you physically, and just to do it all that shine and sequence and embroidery and make it look so easy. Only him.
Yeah. I didn't think we were going to end on hot pants, but I kind of love it.
All together, hot pants. 1, 2, 3, hot pants.
Oh, my God. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Marcelo, Mariestela, Ted, and Gael. Oh, my God. And tell your friends to see Cassandro.